Hey everybody, welcome back. Movie review time, where we geek out about a movie we just saw, and we just saw Iron Man 3.
No.
Because Guy Pearce. Aquaman.
No.
I can't think of a third superhero group that's not Valiant. Faith. It's Valiant. Alright, we saw Bloodshot. This is going to be our no spoiler review. We're not going to do any spoilers here. This is going to be a few minutes of our overall thoughts and opinions. Don't touch your face. Just being funny. Well,
yeah, I
trying.
can't not touch my face.
When I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm derailing. This is gonna be our no spoiler review. We're not gonna talk any spoilers. We're gonna cut the spoilers out if we accidentally do. We will put out a spoiler review so we can talk more specifically about certain things that we did or did not like about this film. Also, keep in mind, we do not consider ourselves film critics or reviewers per se. We're just geeking out. We're just talking about movies we like or don't like or whatever and why we did or didn't like them. We're also pretty much straight from the theater, so we haven't had time to really process our thoughts or opinions too much. So, you got to keep that in mind. Things change. You have time to think about them. And, yeah. So if you want more movie reviews, more movie madness, things like that, you want to check out the Stardust app where we do 30-second reviews, reactions, things like that. Or you can check out my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You're going to get a ton of full movie reviews, video game let's plays, fan movie commentaries, and a whole lot more. You can find either of those by looking up TheEricButts or using the links in the description below. That's all the stuff I say, I think.
It is.
All right, so...
say the thing.
No, I'll get to that. First,
okay.
What we'd like to do is we'd like to let you know where we're coming from with these, what we know about the character and stuff, since this is an established property. I have read a little bit of Valiant comics. I didn't read any Bloodshot, so I know a little, just a tiny touch about him. I know a little bit more about, like, Faith. That's who I read the most of, probably, and whatever their Avengers group was called, and I can't remember because it's been a while now. But, I was kind of excited for the Valiant universe to get started in this era that, it's a whole other comic world, whole other comic property. What will they do? And before I get into my thoughts, I will say, oh, Sony. Okay. So, and your backstory on any Valiant stuff?
Much like Jon Snow, I know nothing.
Except maybe those few comic covers you saw when we would get them from Comic Bento.
Yeah.
I kind of miss Comic Bento a little bit. But yeah, so, all right, well, why don't you start? What did you think?
I didn't really go in with any expectations, so I kind of feel like it was, dumb action fun, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I apparently had some expectations. I don't know what. I think the trailers looked really good, but that's also part of my problem, because I feel like if you saw the trailers, you saw the whole movie. There's not really a lot more going on.
They kind of revealed the twist in the trailers, and that was a bad idea.
Well, honestly, that was kind of a hook for me. When seeing the trailers, it made me more excited. So we're going to tell you what that is. It's not a spoiler. Well, maybe we won't. But also, it takes like 20 minutes in the movie to get to that thing, and it kind of makes that first 20 minutes a little bit moot if you've seen the trailers, because you know what's going on, you know what's coming, so you're like, okay, can we just get with the story? I was definitely a little disappointed. I mean, it wasn't bad. I guess I wanted a little bit more. I was excited about the kickoff of the Valiant comic universe. I thought Vin looked a good deal like the character, but he really only looks like the character for a few minutes in this movie. A good summation, and I have to steal this from somebody else. I was trying to look something up. Well, we did a Target run, and I saw a headline of somebody else's review, and I can't remember who they were, but I mean, they kind of summed it up. It's a movie that's embarrassed to be a superhero movie. It really shied away from a lot of the superhero elements, which is why I say, oh, it's Sony. We're spoiled with Marvel,
really
kind of.
It's more as science fiction.
Yeah, it's really like a science fiction revenge film and not so much a comic book movie, which if you're going to kick off a comic book universe, I kind of expected it to be a bit more of a comic movie. I mean, there is some light fun and light comedy and stuff in there, but...
Yeah, but at the same time, what makes a sci-fi movie different from a...
Well, you're going to have a bigger, grander story than what we got out of this. It's going to go more places. It's going to be bigger and more epic. We did find out it's a $45 million budget, so it's mildly...
Uh-oh.
No, we're still rolling. It just disconnected that.
Okay.
The storm is causing havoc with the Bluetooth connection there. Shoot, that derailed me.
Bigger, grander story.
Yeah.
Had a $45 million budget, though.
Right, and usually maybe a little bit more... whatever. Well, now that says it can do it. I don't know.
Here, you talk, I will play with buttons.
Well, if that worked, whatever. I'm just really disappointed in the movie. No post-credits, none of that. Vin kind of looks like the character. I don't think he was... Don't worry about it. I don't think it was a great casting choice though, because I like Vin Diesel a lot. I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I like him as Riddick. I love him as Dominic Toretto, but this just read as a really angry Dominic Toretto. Not that I was expecting him to be some great actor and do much different, but it didn't. I don't know. It feels like an early 2000s film to me, like before we were spoiled with how comic book movies can be made to feel like the actual comics they're from. Yeah. I mean, I think even DC movies feel more like their comic origins, even like some of the more controversial, loved and hated kind of comic book movies, than this did. I think you're right. It feels kind of like a generic version of a Neil Blomkamp movie. It feels like a generic version of a Michael Bay film without that early Michael Bay magic. I got elements of hardcore, there were elements of things I liked better, and none of it was done. Henry. None of it was really done better. Most of the effects were actually really, really good, but there are some effects, and again, lower budget, where it's clearly digital doubles doing the fighting, like obvious as can be. Yeah. There's no real twists in here.
Aside from what you already see in the trailer.
Yeah, the main villain. Oh my god, for once I said a spoiler that I have to cut out. Again, it's one of those things that you know it from the trailer, but since I'm trying to avoid that, I didn't want to say it. But what I was getting at is the main villain is obvious. Nothing terribly memorable. Doesn't really stand out. And again, in a comic book movie, and again, I know Bloodshot, what Bloodshot's supposed to look like. He is kind of black and whitish. He is very non-colorful other than a glow of red. But then if you're going to have like a monochrome hero character, maybe bring some color to your other characters. Yeah. It's like all black and gray, everything in here. It's not as bad as like X-Men back in the day where they were afraid to get colorful with it. So everybody's in a black leather suit. It's not that level, but I don't know. It felt uninspired. And I heard this is the first time director, so I really do feel bad kind of crapping on the guy or whatever. But I don't know, man. This just did not click for me. And it's a well-made movie. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's just, to me, I came out of it feeling pretty meh. Well, we'll talk more about. There is a thing.
There is something that bugs the hell out of me.
But it's science logic. But again, you know what? Well, yeah, they weren't really being super scientific in this movie, so I can let that stuff go. But that's me.
Oh no! When I tell you what it is, you'll be like, oh.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Just I don't know, and it never really gets like grand. It's a very small scale story, which can work. But I don't know. I expect something a bit bigger from this. And again, as it's supposed to be like kind of the kickoff to the Valiant universe, I expected more. And nothing in here, at least that I picked up on, really tied into anything in the future. Yeah. So, I mean, there could be things. But again, like I said, I'm not the biggest Valiant fan out there. I mean, I like what I've read. I just kind of fell off reading comics, so I didn't get to keep up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just curious. What do you mean by grand?
How to put that into words? Like just bigger scale, like world domination grand, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. Is like the villainous plot is pretty small scale.
But for an origin story, that also kind of makes sense.
But I mean, it doesn't really and again, I'm trying to tiptoe around this without spoiling anything. But I, as an audience goer, I should feel like from like even the Marvel movies, even the DC movies, the good ones, the bad ones, whatever, you feel like you could be included in the group of people that are under threat from whatever the villainous plan is. In this, I don't feel that. That villainous plan was pretty self-contained to a certain set of people, and like there was no real like grand scale. I mean, I guess you could come up with it on your own, but the movie never really set up like, okay, here's why all this stuff is kind of a threat.
So I think that's why we're differing on that particular thing.
But I think that's one of those things I expect from comic movies.
But at the same time, I kind of like the fact that this is a guy who would have gotten away with it because he was working in a very...
It wasn't for you kids.
Very narrow scale.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe that should be applauded because it is something different, but I mean, it's just, I don't know,
if everything had gone...
Not sure what she just said was a spoiler, but close enough, I figure let's just cut it out. Yeah, you're taking my geeky nerd stuff.
Okay, yeah. Can we just go into spoilers?
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up, too, that I do want to point out, too, is this problem. I think this movie tonally had an issue with not understanding what audience it wanted to be for, too, because they should have just gone with the gore and made this a hard R. Because it's so obvious.
Was it R or was it
No,
PG?
This was PG-13.
I think it's just that as their first adventure out, I think maybe they were just trying to.
I don't begrudge them.
Their bets.
I don't begrudge them trying to make a PG-13 movie, but the way they staged their action and their violence needed to be staged for a PG-13 environment, not staged as R-rated violence that you're quick cutting away from before you see the stuff. You know, there's like one pretty gruesome shot that's in one of the trailers, and that's about it. A lot of other stuff is like, oh, that person's getting liquefied, or, you know, this stuff, but it's like, boom, 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 boom. Oh, we're not going to show you that. We're afraid to show you that. You know, and it's like, well, I don't know. It feels like, tonally, the movie feels like a hard R-rated movie, like it's going to be violent and bloody, but obviously it's not. So I think there were some just wrong choices made in the tone. I think the script is just completely cliche. And again, it sounds like I'm really ripping on it. I'm trying not to. I was really looking forward to this.
You don't know what his origin was in the comic book, do you?
No, but I'm not.
So we don't know how close they're sticking to it or not. We have no idea.
Right, but I'm
just going to point that out.
But also, that's not a complaint I have. I'm not making that as a complaint. If this is his origin story, awesome. If they changed it, if you're a fan of the comic, I can understand you being upset by it, but I'm cool with the origin story. I just felt like we were going to get what we got, and that would be like the first third half of the movie, and then it was going to go on into something more and bigger and stuff we hadn't seen, and it's like, nope, it's pretty much what it is. So to me, that's why I came out of it kind of meh. And again, tonally through the whole thing, like that first 20-30 minutes, I'm kind of like, there are moments, bear with me on this, there are moments I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh God, this is really cheesy and like odd and cliche. And then they kind of explain that. And you're like, okay, I can see why that stuff was that way, but now we're doing this. All right. And then it kind of settles back into, I don't know about this. And then something else happens and you start thinking, oh, okay, so this is where the movie starts really getting good. And then it just kind of drapes back off into just like, I don't know, man. And it's a weird hill and valley for me. Like, I like hills and valleys in my movies, but this was a weird hills and valleys. This wasn't like, take your breath, go for a ride, take your breath. This was like, is it getting good? Yeah, it's getting good. Oh, it's good. Okay, yeah. Oh, wait.
So many jokes I can make right now. No.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't like we had a bad experience. Theater was fine. I was pleasantly surprised how dead the theater was, how packed our screening was. So that was nice considering all that's going on. And obviously this may be the last big movie we get a review for y'all for a while. With all these cancellations. I'm just mad because now I have to fight for perfect tickets on a lot of these shows again. Not mad, I totally understand. I don't need comments like, how dare you, don't you understand what's going on? It's like, yeah, I know what's going on. I'm just, I understand and I agree with a lot of it. I'm just venting my frustrations with how it affects me, first world problems. So it's none of that stuff against the movie though. So I don't know.
So can we wrap this up so we can get spoilers?
All right,
I want to talk about the thing.
I know. Click the thumbs up button. Give us the good old thumb of encouragement. I'm sorry. I was trying something different with the lighting. I don't know until I edit.
It's a void.
Yeah, it really made it a void back there. But I do like this key. I do like this kicker you have, or key. Backlight you've got going on here. I brought it up, so it's a really solid line. And I can move over, and you don't see the light appear anymore. I just need the seat backs of those back seats to be a little bit longer out so I can, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Click thumbs of encouragement. We'd love to be encouraged. Check out the Stardust. Check out the Patreon. Look up TheEricButts. Use the links in the description below. Comment. Again, stay out of the comments. No spoilers. People might accidentally spoil, but let us know if you agree, disagree, if you're going out and seeing it, whatnot. Oh, and by the way, if you do go to the theaters right now and stuff, be nice to everybody. Maybe if you can afford to buy a little extra concessions, help them out, buy a little extra concessions. If you're going to a Regal, I understand that it's just Pepsi and it's an awful Pepsi selection. They don't even have Dr. Pepper or any of that stuff. But also, don't dig through the trash. Don't know why that guy was digging through the trash right now. And I'm not a germaphobe guy.
Maybe he accidentally dropped something in the trash. Like his phone.
It wasn't like that. I don't know what he was doing. And he didn't find whatever he was looking for, and then he walked away. So if it was your phone, I don't think you'd give up that easy. Okay. So I don't think it was anything important. But I was just like, why is this guy digging through the trash? Anyways, yeah, do all those things. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you all later.